and a very good evening to you. What a warm day it has been today and yesterday for that matter.
Super hot, but lovely, wonderful, glorious weather. Plenty of vitamin D.
Indeed so, and I'm taking vitamin D tablets every morning. Very good evening to Kevin. It's very nice to have you on board this evening, and to Monica and to Pam. We were going past your shop today and we noticed it looked like you were doing a bit of stock keeping in there or something, because we thought we saw a light on. If you weren't there, and perhaps we didn't, so don't panic. But I hope all's well with you. And so in our sort of general soiree, we normally go through all the sort of happy stuff that's going on, don't we? We invite you guys into our living room, and you see we've got a new temporary picture on the wall here behind us, but I'm informed that is going to the bathroom. No, not the bathroom, the bedroom. And the pot plant is going back on the kitchen windowsill, but we just thought we'd share it with you tonight. It's a rather unique piece, actually. It's a one-off. Kevin says, is that a Picasso? I wish it was. We actually found the name of the guy on the back, and the painter. It's a unique piece. The painter who made it lives down on the south coast somewhere. But I think he might have moved off to Spain or somewhere now. But he was on the south coast of England. It's one of a kind, a quite unique thing. He's got a website, and on which all his works are displayed except that one. And that one is just represented in the form of a sketch. So we have the original, and there it is. So the bids start at 500,000, and do I get over the bid? Very nice. It's a very nice piece, though, and I've had it for nearly 40 years. Thank you, Kevin. You're very, very kind, sir. And so that has been on my bedroom wall for nearly 40 years. But we thought we'd bring it down tonight and prop it up, because you may have noticed we've moved downstairs from where the books are. So we've got to try and make it a bit interesting. And yesterday we had curtains. Yesterday afternoon, I did a thing with my friend Rupert, didn't I? And we turned the camera a bit towards the garden. But we can't do that now because it's dark here.
It is dark.
It is, and this is obviously live. So where to start? Well, the Office of National Statistics says that the infection rates with coronavirus, the new cases, is kind of stable, which is good. I was expecting it, I must admit, being a bit of an old cynic, to start creeping up a bit. So if it isn't, I'm very happy. Because now that Boris gave his terribly enlightening speech as to go to work, don't go to work, stay home, go out, and that one, everybody's completely at odds as to whether they should wear a mask when they hold up the bank or not, and so in fact, and this is the only time, isn't it, when you can actually go into the bank wearing a mask over your face and they won't call the police.
Mm-hmm.
So there we are.
They will thank you.
They will thank you. They probably will, but it should be an FFP3 mask. Let me say, they're my favourites, and you're very good health. Oh, I haven't got one today with a logo on it. Yesterday I had one with a logo on it, but I forgot to turn to the camera.
Well, apparently you can wear any sort of mask, so long as it's a mask, isn't it? In terms to, if you sneeze or cough, you don't spread the bugs, at least not with an intensity.
Not entirely, because if you think about it, if I've got a grid that's that big, and I fire little balls at it that are that big, marbles, they'll go straight through. So and a sneeze is that, and it can go through that way, and it can go through that way. So I'm afraid the holes in this thing have to be pretty small to stop that virus going through. And if you just put, and I've seen people with socks or something over their faces or handkerchiefs, that's complete crap. Doesn't work. So I'm sorry to say. Well, it just doesn't, because look, if the hole is big like that, if the little thing goes through like that, it just doesn't. It just goes.
But
straight
if you
through.
just sneeze, you catch it and just
Well, you catch some of it, but the little bits. I don't know. We'll have to demonstrate.
Well,
this
that's
tomorrow.
why we still need to keep the social distancing, even though we were outside.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not make this an argument.
Oh no! We'll have that later. Don't dare contradict me in public. But anyway, sorry. So it's all a matter of. It's all a matter of opinion, and mine are as valid as Irma's, and are as valid as yours. But having said that, in the societies where masks are mandatory, to give credit where it's due, that the infection rates are lower. So there must be something going on. It might be because it reminds people to stop touching their face. And wherever I go out, there's people everywhere touching their faces. I mean, it just drives me mad. And I've learnt this thing now, whatever the sort of itch or thing on my face, I just contort it to kind of make that, so I look a bit like Quasimodo or something. Oh, there is a logo on the old glass there, as you can see. But I must look absolutely appalling in public, but I have a zero tolerance for scratching my face, despite, and it can be quite agony. It can be agony when your face is itching for 10 minutes. A very good evening to Adam. We're talking about itchy faces and the fact that obviously one shouldn't, whilst out and about in public and contaminating the old hands, touch stuff, but the fact that there's always this sort of little nagging itch that you want to scratch. But what I do now is I just contort somehow and pull faces, and Irma finds this absolutely hilarious. But
well, the first time I was a bit concerned because I saw you pulling faces and I thought, are you okay? And I said, yes, I'm fine. But are you sure you're making faces? It's because I'm scratching my face.
Hello, okay. Cal, thank you for joining us. Cal is on board.
Oh, hello, Carl.
And that's very nice to have you with us. And we're just talking about how to scratch your face without using your hands, which is a skill that I never thought I had and I never thought I'd need until a couple of months ago. And now it's kind of keeping me alive, I guess, because, in terms of you get this, you don't have a 95% chance of getting it right with coronavirus. If you're not going to catch it, you've got to be 100% right, which is a bit scary, really. But I'm not as at risk as I thought. So there we are. Kevin says you need to get rid of that beard to stop itching, and the FFP3 mask will fit properly. And both Cal and Kevin are with us right now. And didn't we? Irma was saying to me today, when are we going to do the beard? And I was saying to Irma, only when Cal and Kevin are on, and that hasn't happened for a while. But we haven't got the shaver today, and it's not charged. But maybe one day we will do that. And in terms of mask fitting, Kevin is absolutely right. On a serious note, that beards really mess it up, and the old things can. So if he can go around the corner of the beard, of course he can go through the sock. Also, socks are stinky, so I wouldn't put one on my face. But anyway, that's just.
Well, when I use your own sock, you can use my sock.
How very kind, but I'm really not into that kind of thing. I'm sorry. not my fetish at all. But anyway, So ONS says it's stable, which is good. We need to watch the next 2 or 3 weeks very, very carefully. Sweden's experiment didn't kind of work, and per capita they've got very high rates of infection after mingling cafes and things like this. Had they asked me, and I would have told them for free. It wasn't as effective a strategy as it might have been, and I suppose the idea being to develop some herd immunity by having all the strong guys mixing around, which we had this theoretical idea in England as well. But come on, guys. If this is something that causes a lot of trouble for people who are susceptible, and this is a new concept actually, susceptibility to it, that some people just can't get it. There have been people who've been caring for members of their families, which is a very noble and selfless thing to do, who are affected with the virus, who just haven't developed any symptoms at all. So and who then test negative. So not all of us are going to get this. We're all wired differently, aren't we?
Yep.
And this applies to our sort of jobs that we do. It applies to our mindset. It applies to our well-being. It applies to our health. It's great to be unique, actually.
Yeah. Plus, there's a lot of loose ends in terms of how exactly it gets you. What are the comorbidities, if at all? Because some people catches it and apparently there's nothing happening to them, but some other ones happen to have some kind of comorbidity, and that's when they get it.
And in terms of these comorbidities, it was an old article, about a week and a half old, but I was looking at a scientific, because I don't read the press when the journalists say, oh, blah, 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 because they read the scientific paper, and then they kind of make a half-hearted guess at what it says, and the editor says, no, you can't say that, just talk about the weather or something, and then they say, weather fine for going out today despite coronavirus or something, when the papers, the scientific paper said something completely different. So there was this thing about what are the at-risk factors when you've got comorbidity, and it was a bit surprising because I assumed that I was kind of very high risk because I've had chest problems in the past, but I'm only in there about 14%. The biggest one of all, which I think recalling these figures off the top of my head, so I can't remember if they're exactly right, but they were. It was the biggest study conducted in the UK so far of 17,000 cases of this, where they've followed it all the way through to see what happened to these folk. The biggest risk of all so far was, and this is kind of quite surprising, it was some dementia, vascular dementia. So, and my childhood hero, Mr. Ronan O'Reilly, founder of Radio Caroline and grandson of a fellow called The O'Reilly, who actually kick-started the 1916 Irish uprising that led to the partition. So you know, very well respected guy, and they didn't say that he'd passed to this, but it's, you know, maybe an assumption to make that he was a casualty of this, because he did suffer from dementia. So I apologise if I've got it wrong there. So 39% risk, if increased risk of getting very severe symptoms if you have dementia. 37% it's if you're obese. So that's the number 2 risk factor.
If you have a higher BMI, which is
if you have a BMI of 30, you're a goner. But you know, obese is the doctor said obese in the article that we read yesterday. So I was obese. Look, you know, I'm going to come out here. I was obese, and look, I used to fit. This was a tight fitting, you know, my sexy one, and now look, you fit 2 of me in here. I was 92 kilograms. Oh, good evening, Jeffrey and Toraj and Jin. It's very nice to have you with us this evening. I was 92 kilos just before you met me, but people who knew me back then will vouch for that. I'm sure Adam would vouch for that. Not quite sure I was quite that heavy when I met Adam, but I had this and look, we've been sprinkling the kitchen today, having a good old rummage around. We found my secret stash, and there are cakes and biscuits and and since Irma came along,
cakes,
I've hidden
chocolates.
Yeah, there were
biscuits.
There were stolen cakes that I'd nicked from Tesco's, and you know, put them under my coat when I went out of there, and nobody, the store detective wasn't fast enough to chase me, or possibly they might be stolen, the German ones, but one or the other, which is just a German Christmas cake, but one or the other. They were either nicked or they were German Christmas cakes, and either is unlikely, because what would a German Christmas cake be doing in my cupboard in June? Unless, of course, I had gone on a rather strict diet and kept it to one side to reward myself when the diet was over, which it's a never-ending diet, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I was 92 kilos. I'm now 69, so that massively reduces my risk of complications to this thing. And it's not difficult. Just cut out the bloody carbohydrates. Okay, look at what they are, and this will work for sort of 9 people out of 10. Talk to your doctor before going on a diet, blah, 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 to make sure it's not risky for you.
It's just about making the better choices from now on.
But, you know, do I really need to eat, 8 slices of toast for breakfast? You know, and I've stopped, haven't I? And we buy like 1 loaf a week. And I do wolf that down in half a day, don't I? So, you know.
When we do buy, yeah.
But you know, we sort out my dieting thing by just not having the things that I'm that I would sort of gluttonously consume. We just don't have them at home, and we buy like 1 at the supermarket and then go 2 weeks later, and so I get my fix, and you know, loaf of bread, it's gone, isn't it? Really, you know. So but that would happen every day. Were they plentiful?
With a little butter about this thick.
Yeah, and my secret stash, you see, was hidden on top of the old kitchen cabinets, and we were cleaning and stuff, and then it came down. And so now it's very tempting. When it was up there, I couldn't be bothered to get a step ladder and go up there, but now it's in a cupboard that I can reach. I've been in it about 4 times today, haven't I?
I'm going to put a lock.
I think we'll have to do that. I think we'll have to get a great big padlock and fix it across. So we're talking about comorbidities for this COVID-19 thing. So number 1, as I say, dementia. Number 2, being overweight, having a high BMI, or just being heavy. And number 3 on that list, I think, was cardiovascular, and that was about something like about 31% increase in complications and stuff that you have. But you know, the doctor who was commissioned to make this study actually said, for overweight, he said it's as serious as Ebola if you find yourself if you find yourself in ICU. your chance of pulling through is about the same. So it is a very good time to lose weight, and so cut down on the muesli, because that's carbohydrate, isn't it? Yeah, I stopped having muesli. I used to eat muesli every morning for breakfast. The oats, it's carbs. Okay, bananas, I don't eat as many of those. Potatoes. What else? There's a few things I don't eat now, and biscuits and bread and cakes. So I think that's about it. Really. And it's,
I think
it
just
ain't
if you
killing me.
start your day with a good breakfast, it's gonna fill you for a long while. I mean, until about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That you're okay. Fruit first thing in the morning. That was one of my friends who she was my kind of a coach for a while, fitness coach. She used to look after the Saints in Northampton, the rugby club.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she said the first thing when you eat fruit, eat it in the morning. It's the best time because it's full of fiber, it's full of the sugars that you need, and that's so you everything is about balance.
And that's what we do now. And only since meeting Irma do I have a healthy breakfast. I never used to bother.
Yes.
I never used to bother, and we're having sort of apples and blueberries and strawberries and grapes and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we make our own mix, our own blend every morning.
We do,
And it's quite
and
fun.
seeds and nuts and all manner of things. It's very, very tasty, actually. It's very, very tasty. Look, it doesn't take more than 5 minutes, and it's so much better than that sort of sugary muck that you sort of put milk on. That comes out of square packets made by various firms and supermarkets do their own brands of them. Mini rant over. But I just did want to talk about those comorbidity things, and so I'm taking turmeric because COVID-19 can cause blood clotting, and turmeric completely blitzes that. I'm taking that every day. I'm taking my vitamin C, because there was a fellow called Linus Pauling who said it was very good. Although, of course, to be fair, although he was a Nobel Prize winner, he was a Nobel Prize winner for physics, so we can't necessarily draw a thing there, but it certainly isn't going to hurt me. I'm taking my vitamin D. So those 3 things, hopefully, are going to keep me still bright, healthy, and sparkly all the way through to 2021. If I get to Christmas 2020, because my ambition when I met Irma was to live to 90. Now my ambition is to make it as far as Christmas 2020. Because if I can do that, then I will make it to 90. You see, so that's the theory. And so far, so good.
Yes, that's right. So we're going to London. Coronavirus cases are dwindling in London, so that's okay. Dwindling.
That's good. Absolutely, that's good. That's good. London had a huge number of people infected, but it has half the morbidity of the rest of the country. So I'm not quite sure I understand why that was. But maybe sort of Londoners are sort of strapping, fit, and young. I don't know, and therefore less likely to suffer the worst reactions to it. I don't know.
Listen to this. This is a 92-year-old teaches piano from quarantine. She's Dr. Cornelia Versteinsen, a 92-year-old Holocaust survivor, has taught piano lessons at her Denver home for more than a half a century. But when the coronavirus swept in, most of her students were forced to stay home. So, nevertheless, she insisted that the lessons would continue, and she's doing it all through FaceTime.
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow. That is a terrific thing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's all about really making the most of a very, very interesting time, of a difficult circumstance, and just keep on going. That's what I can say.
There are many of our seniors who should be and are not recognised and respected as much. I don't think they should be by society, but like Captain Tom was the tip of the iceberg, really.
Yeah.
And,
yes.
It's wonderful to
Huge
see
respect.
people's contribution there.
Yeah.
So, Boris was forced into the first major U-turn of his premiership as he announced that overseas NHS staff and care workers would no longer have to pay a controversial, excuse me,
Bless you.
a controversial visa surcharge. So the PM had faced dissent both across the House and from his own backbenchers, because obviously these are the key workers. We're going out there and applauding them. We were applauding them tonight, it was a very rather mean-spirited thing to do, and it was dropped shortly before 5 o'clock, and so there's a lot of toing and froing, and they will no longer. NHS and care workers will no longer have to pay a visa surcharge, which is currently £400, rising to £624 this October, for the privilege of keeping us alive when we're stupid and go down to the beach. So it's insane, and the government has done the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, good. Just thought I'd get that one off my chest. So and it turned into a sneeze as well, didn't it? Really, mid rant. But yeah, we've got a few more messages coming in and people joining. So let's say hello to everyone if we can. But you see, I was using this mouse when I should have been using this mouse, and they are completely different colours. So it should be pretty damn obvious, really. So Cal says, "Hi guys, I hope you're good. You moved into another room and you are the wrong way round. She's missing the books already." Well, we have got some books with us, and what we're doing is we're going upstairs and bringing one book a day. Today's book is this one, which is a treasury of unbearable office jargon. The title is "Who Touched Base in My Thought Shower?" You didn't, did you? Oh my goodness, how could you? And I thought you liked me, but yeah. So Kevin tells me obesity, as you know, can lead to type 2 diabetes, which coming back to coronavirus and these figures. And Kevin says, in a recent study, I'm putting the other mice right over there now, of 23,804 people, 7,466, so 7,371, so that's just under a third. 7,500 of the people who died from coronavirus had type 2 diabetes. 365, 1.5% had type 1, and 69, 0.3% had other types. The majority of the people didn't have diabetes. Yes, there is a link as well between diabetes and coronavirus. It's a kind of very opportunistic virus, and it pops up in all sorts of places. It can pop up in our eyes as well, and it can attack our vital organs. It can cause mischief long after it's gone. It can cause scarring on the lungs. We don't want to get it. Okay, and I'm at the not quite at the front of the queue for a vaccine, because we'll see whether it's dangerous first. But yeah. I'll be there in the first year. I've never had a flu jab, but I'm high on the list for this.
Yeah, at one point you said that you will be the first one in the queue, and I thought probably it's not the sensible thing to do.
So you volunteered. She's going first.
I know.
And I'll be behind her.
No, I'm just.
And if
waiting.
she kind of keels over, I'll go, well, I think I'll pass today. And now that's my girl. That's a great.
No.
Would you do that for me? Oh, I'm touched. So Jin says zinc is also good for us as well.
Yes,
when we were talking about supplements earlier. And Cal says porridge. My dad was a great fan of porridge oats, and he used to have them every breakfast. And wasn't there a thing called Ready Brick? I think there was a thing where these kids were glowing in the dark, and not just the ones that lived near Windscale, which today is called Sellafield, which is a nuclear power station which had leaks and things. But it was like it was the adverts they had on television. So yes, saw these kids walking to school in the morning with their duffel coats and that kind of thing, and scarves and everything, and the ones who didn't have Ready Brick were more, and the ones who had Ready Brick, hey ho, as off to school we go, and they had this that sort of graphically produced this sort of red glow all around them, and they were quite charming adverts. I bet they're on YouTube somewhere. Oh my goodness, some breaking news from Rocker Kev. It has been confirmed. This is the most amazing thing, that Captain Tom is going to get a knighthood.
Wow.
That is just
fabulous.
Like incredible.
Fabulous.
A round of applause for Captain Tom.
Thank
What
you,
a fabulous Sir Captain Tom. Or is it Captain Sir Tom?
Sir. Oh, Sir Captain Tom. Yeah.
It's neither. It'll be Sir Thomas.
Oh, okay.
Sir Thomas More. Anyway, just
shall I read that?
You could do that. That is me for sure. Dipstick.
So what is this? Who touched base in my thought shower?
Well, it's a thing about ridiculous office jargon that is used to describe kind of simple things. Boil the ocean. And let's do boil the ocean.
We don't want to boil the ocean here. Say what? Of course we don't, because that would kill all the fish. Thought to be fairly.
So in a business context, boiling the ocean can be either good or bad. Huh? When it's bad, it just means you're wasting time on an unnecessary inflation of tasks. And when it's good, when it's good. On the other hand, sometimes boiling the ocean is good, confusingly for exactly the same reason. You are attempting something very difficult and time-consuming, which can be a fine and heroic thing to do. What a bunch of crap. Anyway, there we are. I chose that one. You choose one tomorrow from the pile to read.
Yes, I will.
I think so.
I will.
Silly boy. Stupid boy was a character in a television sitcom called Dad's Army. But yeah. Oh, this is just the most amazing thing. We've got from Kevin the actual kind of news announcement on the BBC website that Captain Tom was said to be overawed to find out that he was being awarded a knighthood. And I was thinking about him today, and I was trying to think how much money he'd actually raised. And I knew it was about the 30 mark. £32 million for NHS charities, which was an absolutely incredible thing. And Captain Tom, with extraordinary humility, when they told him about the honour, his first reaction was, "This can't be true." So the Prime Minister said that Captain Tom had provided the country with a beacon of light through the fog of coronavirus. And Captain Tom said he had been given an outstanding honour by the Queen and by the Prime Minister. "I'm certainly delighted," he said, "and overawed that this has happened to me. I certainly never anticipated that this letter would arrive for me." And in answer to my rather flippant question earlier, he is an honorary colonel, and his official title will be Captain Sir Thomas More. Wow. And you know, with extraordinary humility, all he wanted to do at the age of 100 was to walk 100 laps of his garden, one lap for every year of his life, and to raise £1,000.
That's just amazing.
What a wonderful guy, and you know, there is nobody who wasn't touched, I think, by his incredible sacrifice and
very humble and very grateful.
What a lovely and an amazing man, and what an incredibly powerful story. Good evening, Anthea, and good evening, Philip. How are you today, sir? It's good to have you with us. Yeah, moving along rapidly. Let's have a look at some of the other things that happened today. Spain reported the lowest COVID-19 death toll in more than 2 months, which is fantastic. Their death toll is now considerably lower than ours, because we're number 2 in the world. We are number 2 worst in the world for this. So tomorrow morning, when you go out jogging or cycling or kind of walking down the high street, less than 2 meters away from people. I have to start dodging people. It's like, did you ever play the dodgems at the fairground?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Well, it's like that now for me, because these people are just making a beeline straight for you, and I'm whoa going to the left, whoa going to the right, and they're looking at me as if I'm nuts. And only a few are wearing masks, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think we should do better.
We might be heading for number 1, because
What?
traffic wardens running out of tickets of the tourists flock, the coastal beauty during lockdown. This is in Devon.
That is absolutely appalling. That is absolutely appalling. There's a can we make that picture bigger on there? Because then we can hold it up. Oh yeah. Look at this.
This is in Yahoo News.
This is and it's midweek as well. And there's a whole load of cars. I don't know if you can see that through the centre of the picture there.
So
A whole load of cars making their way along the road. Yeah, and what are they going to do when they get there? They're all going to be sunbathing or whatever, and not good, guys. Because you know, you might be a burly kind of guy with tattoos all over your arm and all that kind of thing, and resistant to everything, which you might not be if you smoke or if you're overweight or something. So don't be so sure about that just because of your age. But equally, you must have an elderly uncle or parents or this kind of thing. You're putting them at risk. So please don't do that, because that would make me not so happy. I don't think it would be number 1. What is the US death toll at the moment? let's have a look. Ours is sort of heading towards 35,000 people. I think, as far as I know, yeah, it's the US is more than 96,000 people have died of this. In both cases, in my view, because their countries were more concerned with keeping the economy going and making a profit and this kind of thing than they were for people's lives. It's a difficult balance to draw, but we got it wrong. And it's easier to say that in hindsight, but I was saying that beforehand as well. And a lot of people were saying, no, wash your hands, keep calm, carry on. It wasn't just Boris. And they were wrong. And I was a naysayer at the beginning. And didn't I say how long it would go on?
Yes,
I said that this would go on until October of 2021. And everybody's and then what happened yesterday? Cambridge University, obviously this is subject to review, but Cambridge University has suggested that all the lectures will be online until, October 2021. So great minds think alike, and some lesser minds kind of catch on to great thoughts accidentally, like a leaf in the wind, and that's what it would have been in my case. But and so I'm not predicting that it'll be sort of shock, horror, awful wag until then, but I am suggesting that we'll be doing the old social distancing. So we won't be sort of leaning over the bar, sort of moving along towards that pretty girl on the end of the bar and sort of chatter up and everything. We won't be able to do that. We won't even be able to sort of have the peanuts on the bar and things. But they were always disgusting anyway, because when they analysed those free things on the bar, look, can I be blunt here? Men are not quite as hygienic as they should be when they visit the bathroom. So those peanuts and crisps and things that were free on the bar in a little thing, no. You really wouldn't want to know what was on them. It was worse than shaking somebody's hand, and that's bad enough. So, tell me about a hero Costco worker, perhaps.
Well, a hero Costco worker was they were arguing over there you go. For masks.
So, is this in England or in America? That's a good question. We're not quite sure which country it's in, but it says Costco requires all employees and customers to wear a face covering while inside its stores, but the customer filmed himself waiting in the checkout line without a mask and berating a worker called Tyson who asked him to put one on. "I'm not doing it because I woke up in a free country," said the COVIDiot, after threatening to put the Costco worker on his 3,000 follower Instagram feed. I've got a 1 follower Instagram feed for what it's worth. You're no longer welcome in our warehouse, said Tyson. You need to leave. Thank you very much. So that was it. And his partner was wearing a mask, but they were both chucked out.
Why not?
So suck that up. 3,000 Instagram followers. You've got to do the right thing. You've got to follow the policies that are in place, and it's for the general good.
Mm-hmm.
Shall I take my sock off now and put it across my face?
No.
It's a few days old.
Do we have any questions?
We do have some questions, let us dip down into the question bucket to see what questions have come in. Yes, the question bucket. It's like a lucky dip, and you sort of dip in, and out come the questions. I'm sure that's how the government pick them. Kevin confirms 96,000 deaths in the USA, and their curve is flatter than the UK, so they've got a long way to go yet, whereas ours is in decline now. That's terrible, absolutely terrible. Coming back to the old question thing, I'm going to have to call it up, which is what I shall do now. So bear with me while I just type into the thing, which just shows you that we don't spend hours rehearsing and preparing these, and we don't have a director who goes and action.
I think you already have it there.
I have it there. What there? Yeah, but I've got to click on it. I know. Well, this takes an effort. And you have to look when you've got two mice, and they're so confusingly similar, are they not? I mean, how could you tell those apart? How do you tell those apart? I mean, you move them around on the table. Right, where is it now?
There.
Okay.
There.
How does she do that? How does she do that? This is a remarkable lady. I mean, I just couldn't do that.
Okay.
But anyway, here we are. So here are the questions coming in. And Kevin has just fed and been watching the foxes. That's just prior to our to our thing, and he posts such lovely, such beautiful photos of these foxes on
It's a
Facebook,
video online.
which keeps us going through dark times. It really does. Now, Mewish from Coventry said, "Will you be advising the Muslim community to stay home or to stay alert during the upcoming 3-day celebration of Eid?" Now, here's the thing that first of all, the government will be advising you to go, don't go, like they've done. Stay home, go out. Go to work, don't go to work. But there's a serious point that you know a lot of religious festivals are coming that sort of overlap with this current pandemic, and what is the best thing to do about this? In my view, and it's just a view, it's best to link up for religious celebrations of whatever persuasion or faith you are. I think it would make sense at the moment to do so over the internet and in that way to protect your fellow worshippers from any lurgies that might be out there. But obviously, this is very much a matter for individuals, for their conscience, for their deity, and it's something that people have to make up their own minds about.
Mm-hmm.
But my view would be, for the sake of the others in the gathering, the other worshippers, whether it be a small family gathering, whether it be a large gathering of worshippers, try and not do it. Not do it in the old traditional way. Try and, for a year, do it electronically.
Yeah, but
What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think it's common sense. Common sense, and I think the question it's a bit. I don't know. Personally, this is my personal opinion. It's too direct. How can a prime minister said do this or do that based on your religion? It's just a common sense, and it's a guideline for everybody, despite of any kind of religions. Well, that's my opinion.
Now, and you see, the thing about Eid, to put this into context, is it marks the end of a month of fasting, and it's normally celebrated with prayers and a big sort of communal meal. So it does rather sort of detract from the spiritual significance to be doing it sort of, you know, sitting there on Zoom or some sort of messaging app. However, there are very pressing reasons for doing so at this present time, when, despite what we're being told by the government, it is still very serious. And each person who has this virus may not show any symptoms for up to a fortnight. But at the same time, they are infecting people because it lives here in the old upper throat. And even when you're talking like this, that's good job you're sitting at home watching this. Even when you're talking like this, the old lurgies are coming out there. So you know, it's considerate for your brethren and sisterin, is that not the opposite word of brethren?
Yeah.
To show some respect by maintaining this social distancing thing, because nowhere has anybody, governments or doctors or anybody, suggested that the social distancing thing is wrong at the present time.
That's correct.
So you know, that's my answer to that.
I was just looking at some of the photos of that Kevin posted of this today's walk. It was awesome. This is very interesting. What is this? Is it a tomb or what is it?
It's a very it looks to be some kind of almost medieval symbol, doesn't it? This is something that Dorney posted, Kevin. So you might be able to shed some light on it. Let's hold it up and have a look to the
they're
camera.
Beautiful.
It's at the Four Woods Nature Reserve, and it's a magnificent looking thing. So if you can shed some light on what that is, we'd be extremely grateful. Hello, Paul. Thank you for joining us from the Colchester and environ sort of area. Jin says the Chinese are a lot more cautious. They won't take the masks off even if the rules change. And frankly, I won't do what the government tells me either. I was and here I come back into my thing of being a rebel, because I'm very proud of being a rebel. And when the government was saying stay home and I happened to agree with it, that was a terrible thing for me. So now that the government's changed tack, I can say stay home, it's not safe. And that is what I truly believe. So when we pop out, we're popping in and out of the house like ninjas, and we're just kind of, ducking and diving in the old supermarkets like this, and getting out as fast as we can. If there's a queue, we are not standing in it at 2 meters or any other meters, because it is a dangerous thing. Mm-hmm. The collective name for mice is a mischief of mice, says Kevin, which is a terrific thing. I didn't know that. What an extraordinary thing.
Ah.
I would make a good mouse on that basis, because I'm always making mischief. So I think that's highly appropriate. Mm-hmm. Let's go on to question number 2 in the list of questions that were asked at the podium today. Finley from Ararosan, I don't know where Ararosan is, but Finley says, if a vaccine is developed, will it be mandatory? If not, how will you bridge the difference in opinion between those who believe it necessary and those who do not? Well, here's the thing, and I was quite het up about the old MMR recently, because there were some people alleged that there was a link with autism, some said not, but it did seem like an awful lot of stress to put on a young child's body to put all these 3 things in at the same time, and to make it very difficult for parents who wanted to have these 3 things put in separately. It was, of course, a cost thing. It was to save money. But, even for parents who would pay the difference, the government made it very difficult for them. So if you play ball, and if you cooperate, and if you make things easy for people, and if you explain, then people are going to do things. I've never had a flu jab, despite the fact that I'm a chesty old git. And was it a year or a year and a half ago, Irma had to take me into the clinic or whatever, with my lungs sort of hanging out over my shoulders, and me saying, I'm fine.
I had to force you, really.
She did. She got me into an arm lock, and like that, and forced me into the thing. And clearly it was serious, because the doctor just fast-tracked me straight through, and they gave me a dose of antibiotics that was about 3 times the what I was expecting.
Yeah.
So I'm a stoic. And I don't take the vaccines, because I don't want to put lots of crap in me all the time. When okay, flu's bad, and for me, flu and colds knock me out for 7 to 10 days. I'm in bed, I'm feeling like shit, whether it's flu or cold, because I'm susceptible to those kinds of germs.
Yeah.
But I can watch lots of DVDs and things, and that sort of thing. And that's the only time I ever do binge watching. And I see some great shows.
I think this kind of vaccine, if it is, the vaccine normally gets inoculated on the children when they're very young. I think this was going to be a case in which, if there's a vaccine, that is, my guess is when you are, I don't know, over the age of 13 or 15, because if the virus interacts with fat cells, and when you are a tiny, tiny baby, and you're full of fat, basically, because you're developing all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
So, I don't know.
We'll have to see. I mean,
a lot of research.
We are, because look, there is no vaccine against the common cold, which is the SARS-CoV-2's close cousin. So having said that, the world hasn't had the incentive to develop something against the common cold, because the common cold has not brought the world to its knees and at a standstill. So science is united now in doing this, and the common cold was usually just a few kind of rather eccentric scientists, shall we say, and no disrespect meant on that, but just a few people who would get £100,000 a year or something to research it, and so there wasn't a lot ploughed into it. But the whole of science is going at this helter skelter, and some of these maybe one of these potential things that are being developed will work. Clearly they won't all work, but clearly we're coming at this from a lot of different angles, and it may not be a vaccine, it may be a monoclonal antibody. We don't know, but certainly there is great cause for optimism, and because when I give these sort of predictions to Irma of how long it's going to last and what's going to happen and everything, kind of, she's saying, so what, we're going to give up and spend the rest of our lives in the catacombs? No, we most certainly are not. And we're coming out of this in a good way. There was a horrible pandemic, as you know, in 1918, and yet, by the mid-20s, it was the roaring 20s, and the flappers were partying like it was 1999 or something, even though 1999 was quite a long time way away in 1925. So absolutely not. This is a temporary thing, and temporary things that other people have had to endure have been much worse. Like those youngsters that were trapped, was that in South America, in that coal mine?
Yeah.
For about a month or something, and you know, so there's been much worse things. And okay, I agree with you. Network is shite, but you can watch us every night.
Yeah, we're resilient. We humans are resilient. We're good.
Yeah, absolutely so, absolutely so. And other streaming services are available, unless we get any complaints about that, which hopefully we won't. So Kieran, hello, thank you for joining us again. It's nice when our sort of regulars show up in the in the living room. This is the living. Look, to be honest, the living room where we were with all the books is probably not the one that we'd invite you to for tea when we if you come to see us after lockdown, and anybody's welcome to do so. We probably wouldn't invite you to that living room because it's full of books, and actually, as you can see, it's a bit claustrophobic. There's not much space for people because we lined the walls with books, and it is a kind of, it's a cosy place, isn't it?
It is.
Actually, but
It is.
but yeah, we invite you. We'll invite you down here when it's safe to do so. What have you got?
Oh, I've got communication. Some people talk simply because they think sound it more manageable than silence, but Margaret Halsley says, women who do too much need to keep busy. One of the ways we keep busy is talking, even when we have nothing to say. It's not that we are so taken with the sound of our own voices. It is just that silence seems so overwhelmingly and murky. Much of our lives has been spent filling up overeating and filling up on ourselves, overworking and filling up on our time, over talking and filling up our shared moments of silence. As we begin to recover, we find that we do not need our filling up fixes. We can be with ourselves in silence. When people talk on and on, they usually are not listening to themselves. February the 10th. All we need to do is just everything, it's a balance. That's it. He's gone mute.
I'm following your advice. I mean, I think I should, and absolutely so. And it's quite true that I do this, but I hope,
Honestly, I just opened the page
look, I
and
know,
it
I
just
hope
came
some of it-
up.
the little bookmark just fell out. Yeah. No, honestly, she did just open the page, and mea culpa that sometimes some of what I say may be a bit what should we say? That sometimes I'm a bit generous with my words. Now I'm going to say this next thing that I'm going to say without any comment whatsoever. I'm just going to report a little fact that's been reported today, but I'm not going to comment on it. The Chinese city where the first coronavirus cases were recorded, Wuhan, has officially banned eating wild animals.
Oh,
According
wow.
to the Wuhan municipal government, it is now prohibited to eat, hunt or breed wild animals, including terrestrial animals deemed as protected, as well as those that exist in the wild or are bred. I merely report what has happened. Moving on to the lighter side of what's going on in the big wide old world of Corona. 75 positive news stories you may have missed during the coronavirus outbreak. This comes from Elle magazine. We're not going to do all 75. We'll just pick one or two, shall we? And what shall we pick? London's, well, yeah, this is very pertinent to the UK here. London's coronavirus cases are dwindling. Which is very interesting actually, because I'm sure they haven't reached 60 or 70% penetration in terms of people who have been exposed to this. Last time I checked, it was about 10% in London and 4% in the UK. That may well have gone up a bit. But according to the Mayor of London's office, and it obviously depends on how rigorous their testing is, and who is being tested, and whether everybody is eligible to have a test in London. So if they only tested 14 people in London on Tuesday, then it wouldn't be a pretty dramatic result. But if they tested 10,000 people in London, this would be a dramatic result. And I'm not sure the truth on that one is not given. But according to Sadiq Khan's office, only 13 people tested positive for COVID-19 on Tuesday in London, and the Telegraph newspaper reports that 6 major London hospitals reported no new deaths from COVID-19 in the past 48 hours. That is terrific. And that sounds to me like a resilient population that lived through a lot of tribulations. Actually, I mean, in my dad's generation, it was the Blitz. So they were all sheltering in this corrugated tin thing, singing the old songs to candlelight or whatever, and all around the bombs going. And I thought it was a great impression of a bomb. They'd come out next morning and maybe their house wouldn't be there anymore. And so you just have to clutch a few possessions and rush into the old Anderson shelter, as they were called. So we're not having to do that, to be fair. Things could be, I think, a lot worse. And we are not only reliant on what the government tells us. Due to the miracle of the internet and satellites and things, we can see what's happening in other countries as well. So if the government's talking crap, we can go on social media and we can say the government's talking crap, as I did in the middle of March. And in early March, I was saying, well, lock down then, come on. And the Football Association pulled games. People stopped going to pubs, and the government going, hey, wash your hands and get on with it. And that was very irresponsible. And it has caused, no doubt about it. I agree with George Monbiot writing in the Guardian, I think it was on Tuesday, which I spoke about last night. I agree with him that 30,000 more people died than was necessary due to that silly dilly-dallying on the part of government, because there are people who respect them and think the sun shines from their behinds, which I don't, and there are people who do everything the government tells them. So, for goodness sake, be responsible, Mr. and Mrs. Government.
That's correct.
Rant over. Cal says she loves the books, and it's like her den. So that is wonderful. So the books are still around, and probably for the autumn we'll put them out again, But for now, look, we are but what do you call those sliding windows? French windows, are they called? Something? One of those patio doors. We are but a patio door away from the garden. Okay, it doesn't matter at the moment because you can't see a bloody thing because it's pitch dark out there. But we don't have the curtains drawn, so we know the garden's still there. But it's just that we do videos and things during the day as well, or I do, and I think you'll be doing some soon as well, when you about various things. So it's just a nice ambiance to see the trees and the grass and everything out there, which is why we made the trek to come downstairs, and in the process managed to not do the rock show on Tuesday because I couldn't find one of the cables. But anyway, that's life. The change has its good and its bad points. And maybe it's a good point that I didn't do the rock show. I don't know. I think it's fine. We like the rock show, don't we?
We do.
And interesting. The coming back to Dawn's thing that she posted. It's a plaque that she and Kevin discovered for the first time on a walk near the ruins of the old Crowhurst Manor House, which is a scheduled monument not open to the public. It was built around 1250, and it's also near the parish church of St George's, Crowhurst, which contains an ancient yew tree that is believed to have been planted around 700 AD. That is definitely before William the Conqueror arrived from Normandy to fight King Harold at the Battle of Hastings. Many men from Crowhurst village would have fought in that battle.
Wow.
What an extraordinary piece of history. What an amazing place to live, isn't it? Surrounded by all that history. Wow. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Very much appreciated.
Yeah.
Very much appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
We were moseying through the.
Just the beard.
You knocked the table over nearly, and everything was wobbling, but it wasn't an earthquake. Honestly,
No.
It wasn't. It was a new dawn.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, I was just reflecting upon, this being a fabulous decade and everything, 2020, new decade, this and the other, all the, the grapes we ate, the wishes we made for the year, everything's gone completely. So, in terms of looking ahead, after the first quarter, the first half of the year, first 6 months of 2020 have gone completely dolally for everybody worldwide. What is my question here is, where's the new perspective that we're gonna go after this is over? I hope we're still on the same mood than when we first got struck with the news that we had to be indoors. And I hope that we really get to grips in terms of what is important going forward, and we just not get, oh, it's okay, it's sunny, and forget about it. No, just I hope we all as a race, we've learned a lesson in terms of what is important in our life, what we want to keep, what we want to get rid of in terms of emotionally, physically, mentally, everything, because we only have one little life to live, and we must do it in a way that is going to be for the greater good. Even if we all want to be superheroes when we're little. That's our first impulse when we're growing up. We forget about that with business, with traffic, with work, with money, with bills, with everything. So if we were to just rekindle with that little part of us that wanted to be the hero, that doesn't mean that you're going to change the world. That doesn't mean that you're going to make a massive turnaround of everything. But if the hello, good morning, the smile, the good deed that you do for the person who is in front of you, although social distancing, if there's something little that you can do to change someone else's even day, it would make wonders, because everything is like a wave. You know, when you drop and drop in water, in a glass of water, and it just expands and it goes. So whatever good deed you do, whatever good thought that you make will make a difference. So with this 2020 gone all doolally, all gone nowhere, yet we are here, let's just grab what humanity is all about and just move ahead with it, whatever it may be. This is my little insight today. Thank you for letting me share that.
Thank you for sharing. We're always honoured when you share with us, and we've got a little YouTube channel. We haven't told anybody it's there yet, so it's had no views. But we're archiving, deliberately really, but we're archiving all of these on there. The advantage being that then you can have a look at them, and also they're in much better visual quality than the Facebook ones, because in order to stream this on Facebook, it's a limited bandwidth in between all the people watching their Amazon Prime and Netflix. And so we have to degrade the picture quality a bit. The YouTube stuff is a lot better quality because we download it a lot slower. It takes 3 hours to upload or something, so we can upload a lot more pixels and data and stuff. But on that channel, and I will post a link to it, okay, in about 5 minutes. On that channel, you can look at the video we made on New Year's Eve.
Oh yes.
And I don't think we did that live. Actually, I think we did it recorded.
It was live.
It was live. Oh, it was live. Was it? Good gracious me! Oh, yeah, I can't remember. But anyway, whether or not we did it live, if we didn't do it live, we uploaded it straight after doing it. So I honestly don't remember.
So that's what went wrong with 2020.
Yeah. But one way or the other. Now, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, because we filmed this on 2 different cameras, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, the picture behind me looks very crooked, but it's just the camera angle, and it's not really, and it's
That's
not
an oil painting.
It's not. It's an oil painting, and the bottom there's a little plant as well. Where is it? There on the other camera. It's very difficult, but that's a real plant as well. But so the oil planting, we brought it down actually from the bedroom and rested it on a piece of furniture to make it look a bit nicer. Bit of staging there, and a very nice painting it is too. Kevin, expanding on the YouTube thing, says, which I didn't know. He says over the years, many notable people have received young yew trees, which have been grown from the seed of this famous tree. That is to say, the tree that he was talking about in Crowhurst. And these have included King George V, Rudyard Kipling, and the Botanical Gardens here in Cambridge. Wow! We'll have to go and have a look at those.
Can we have a cutting?
Can we have a cutting? I don't know, we'll just go there at night and with the little secateurs. That's what I did with Isaac Newton's tree in Trinity. I went in the middle of the night, snip, 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 collected a few apples from underneath it, and now we've got a whole orchard up there. I didn't really, for the avoidance of doubt. I'm a very good, well-behaved, nice, kind boy who doesn't transgress like this, but does vent a lot.
Yes.
online.
Yes.
So yeah, so
Completely.
I got all
Harmless.
excited, but and then I missed out Kevin's second bit. So this ensures that as well as the UT in Crowhurst putting down more roots around itself, its lineage is assured for future centuries to come, which is terrific. Cal says, okay, we like looking out at the garden too, but you are still the wrong way around. Well, on YouTube we're not, you see, so you have to kind of, we'll have to, we'll find that
The wrong
channel
way around. What do you
and
mean?
post the links. Well, she means that before you were on this side and I was on this side in the videos we were making in the other room upstairs. But
Shall we move then?
should we go upstairs now? But we
No.
can't because all the cables are connected to wires and things. And yeah, okay, there you go. And well, I have to be careful how I move at the moment because, as you know, newsreaders don't wear trousers.
Is this the right way around, Cal?
Is it that way around?
You
Yeah, I don't know.
You can't read in it.
You can't. I'm sitting in the way of the picture, and it's all. How does that suit? See, we try to please, and we're going to go back again. La da 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 da. Isn't this fun? Which side are you more comfortable on in this room?
It doesn't matter. I'm okay.
Okay. But
I think this is my side.
we try to please, don't we? Really? And you know, hello, Renee. You've joined us at the point where our sanity is in serious doubt this evening, and we're coming towards the end of our little chat, but we've got a few more snippets.
This was water, by the way.
It was?
Definitely was water.
That was water, and this was water.
Yeah.
And they evaporated, but alcohol evaporates far about that speed, doesn't it? Really. So where tea is tea. I'm a mug, you know. I really am, and on Facebook you can see that. On YouTube it's probably inverted, although it might not be. I have no idea. Now there's a new initiative called Project Wingman. Should that be called Project Wing Person? I don't know, because we live in an age of equality and stuff. Anyways, it was set up by two pilots and fronted by furloughed, I read that as frustrated, by furloughed airline staff as volunteers. And it's providing, it's a very nice idea, it's providing NHS workers with a first-class lounge experience in between their shifts.
Oh.
So they've set up 60 lounges so far. 4,000 furloughed airline workers have volunteered to work this. And they can have a nice cup of tea with handmade sandwiches, specially crafted sweet treats, plus a browse of luxury magazines. That's got to be good. That's got to be good. And I've never been in the first class lounge at an airport, you know. Have you?
No, I can remember.
I don't know what goes on in there. But, well, now I do, because I just read it. But anyway, I think that probably more or less brings things to a close, does it, for this evening?
Yes, that's right.
Except for Irma's final thought of the day, which is always wise, inspired, carefully considered, and chosen after a great deal of rumination and thought.
Okay.
I did that on purpose.
Yes, he
what
did.
A boy.
He did.
But there must be something. I'll keep talking until such time as Irma
Because
finds
I did not have my book here with me.
I'm
but,
so sorry. Where is your book? Is it up? Is it in one of the bags? Okay.
Okay. If one's fulfillment aligned with love and truth is okay, all others around will also be okay by default. This is something that I was working.
Yes, and in that. Well, yeah, it's true that happiness and fulfillment is contagious. It's a joy and enlightenment and happiness spread from one person to another. Miserable old buggers spread their sort of rain cloud as well around themselves. And there are people who walk into a room and it's like they've got a rain cloud overhead, and it's raining, and they can bring down the whole tone of the conversation, and everybody leaves. But equally, there are people where you can see a ray of sunshine, of optimism, happiness in their eyes, of any sort of age. I've been to old people's homes where there are people who light up the room with their optimistic outlook. And these people tend to be, 90, 95 years old or something. Their optimism keeps them alive, and it fires up everybody who meets them. You can meet these people sort of at any age, but they are the ones that light up the world. So Kevin liked when we swapped round as well now. So now, oh dear, shock horror.
What?
We've messed it all up.
What?
By switching. Tomorrow it looks like you'll have to be that side and I have to be this side. But that makes it terribly difficult now, because I'll tell you why. Because we have actually set up our desks now downstairs here as well. So we're working here during the day as well. and Irma's desk is on that side, which is where Irma is. And if we put Irma on that side, then she'd be sitting amongst all the cables and modems and
I'm
transformers
sure
and bits and pieces.
we'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Yep, I'll sit over there. Yep, we'll find a way.
We'll see if there's a way to mirror image the picture in software. But then you see, when we hold up things to show you, like who touched who touched base in my thought shower, then it'll be all back to front. So that wouldn't be so good. I promise you that on Facebook, on YouTube, we are what you would describe as the correct way around. So you can always double check when we've finished.
Mm-hmm.
So
keep your eyes open at the same time as your soul, because life is beautiful and has always got something to teach you. I had to translate this one very quickly because I had written all in Spanish, so that's why.
That's fantastic. Could you read it to us in Spanish as well?
Mantén tus ojos abiertos al mismo tiempo que tu alma. La vida es hermosa y tiene algo que enseñarte.
That's beautiful. Spanish is such a beautiful, emotive language, isn't it?
It's a Romance, language. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. English is not as ugly as these guttural languages like German, but it sort of comes in between the sort of romantic, delicate poetry.
I have German friends, you know.
Of Spanish. I am 1/4 German, so I'm allowed to say bad things. My mum was German, so I'm allowed to say bad things about things that I am 1/4 of without it being in any way prejudicial or racist. And I can take the mickey out of the Irish as well, because I'm partly Irish, to be sure. And so there you go. It's wonderful to be able to, turn things on their head in this politically correct madhouse that we find ourselves living in.
¿Cuál es mi sombrero, señor?
Hola! And with that, we will finally take our leave of you. I'm going to scoot off to YouTube immediately to find our channel on there. And you guys will be the first to see it because we haven't told anybody it's there. It's not hidden, but it's just not promoted and not there are no tags on it. And it's just been sitting there. And you'll be able to go back to number 1 of these, which was a very optimistic Irma and David sitting on the correct way around.
Thank you, Carl.
Talking about all our plans for 2020 and how marvellous it was going to be. And in November, we held this event, didn't we, in London, talking about how marvellous everything was going to be. We had some very eminent people from our sort of property community talking about how marvellous it was going to be. And it was all bollocks. Not their fault, not our fault, blah, blah, blah. Just the little zits that were floating around in the air. And making some people very, very ill, and wise people not making them very ill, because even though it's a sunny day and there's this overwhelming urge to go to the beach, we don't.
We just stay home.
Absolutely, and because of those buggers who went there last weekend, we won't be able to go there for months. If everybody had stayed home for 3 or 4 weeks, that would have been the end of COVID-19. But it's just too much to ask, isn't it?
Anyway,
that was sarcasm.
On that note, I'm going to try to convince you to shave that sometime, soon.
Work in progress. Shall I shave this?
No.
What do you think?
No.
What do you think? Look out, Telly Savalas. Do you think if I was to shave this and get a lollipop, I could get a starring role in an old 1970s TV cop show? There was a remake of the TV show Kojak in about 2005 or something with the actor Vang Rhames, who's he's a very good actor. It only lasted about 10 episodes. I think it's a bit too gritty for the audience, or maybe it's a bit too intelligent. I don't know. It lost me halfway through episode 1, but I did watch them all. I quite enjoyed them actually. The remake, having been a fan of the old series back in 19. So that is it for us from tonight. Thank you so much for your company, should I say, for putting up with us. I don't know. It's been a real pleasure to invite you into our home, to engage in this sort of light-hearted banter, to throw a few bits of real news into the mix, which we do every night, because we do care. We do care, honestly. And we will be back at probably the same time tomorrow, I should think. We're going to be zipping in and out tomorrow, doing the shopping and other things. Tomorrow morning I'm going to be doing a couple of lives with a few friends as well, and we'll be back sometime tomorrow evening. So and until we meet again, don't know where, don't know when. Aloha.
Goodbye. Mm.